Salut everyone! In this video we are going to talk about hardware upgrade. Because yes, I did a thing. Let's talk about it. As always, let's start with a little bit of context. I'm doing this video and nothing has been really planned. What happened is like this morning, I've been checking my store, my local store, to see if I could get this AMD Ryzen 9800X3G. I've been doing that since he has been released. I think it was in November, and I couldn't find any stock here in Canada. So this morning when I checked and I looked, there were like, I don't know, like 8 left. I was like, okay, it's maybe time to upgrade. And before we get into the detail of the upgrade, I wanna share with you my overall like approach when it comes to upgrade, because I believe like it's important from, you know, like my standpoint as a content creator to share my approach when it comes to upgrading hardware. You might think that, you know, I'm one of those guys who change like every generation, who have like 25 CPU and GPU in the background, but it's not really the case. It's not really the case because I've been paying for my hardware with my own money, whether it come, you know, from the ads revenue here or, you know, like you guys supporting me financially. I never had like any type of like sponsor so far when it comes to hardware. And so, you know, I believe it's relatively easy to come and, you know, come with like new hardware all the time when you have sponsor, and it's fair because it's kind of like your job. But me as a content creator, like I'm not into like this segment of the content creator who have the chance to get their hand of like nice hardware provided by the brand. So when it comes to like upgrading my PC, I really have like a consciousness related to pricing and to like, you know, like what type of performance I get versus the money I actually put inside the PC. And just to show off like my approach, if you look at my historic in terms of like buying and investment, when I was creating content like full-time on Twitch, the biggest investment I made was buying in a solid like CPU. I think it was in 2017, 2018. Let's say 2017 for, you know, the sake of like the timing. But I bought a 8700K from Intel, which was a beast at the time. And I coupled that with a 1080 Ti. And you will see that during my upgrade path for my main rig, I didn't really go crazy. So I used that for like 2 years. I totally bypassed the series of the 10,000, you know, like the 10,000 series from Intel, which were like really good. And I also like bypassed the 2080 Ti because I believe like what they were providing in terms of performance and versus the cost was not that great, at least for my usage. I didn't care at the time about RTX. I was maining like I think PUBG and Escape from Tarkov on my stream. So it was not really something I was really into. Like it wouldn't have added value to my content at all. So I stayed on this hardware for 2 years. Then I started to feel like my 1080 Ti was not used at its maximum potential. So I upgraded to a 5950X, the CPU. The CPU I still use to date. And I did upgrade to the CPU, I believe it was in 2019, maybe 2020. But you see, like the cycle was like between like 2 and 3 years. I kept my 1080 Ti because at the time I was still playing in 1080p. And again, like I had no really like any type of incentive to upgrade. Then what happened is like we went into like COVID mode. Everything was closed. The price of the GPU went like crazy, and it was really hard to find one. So I just waited and had the opportunity to put my hand on a 1390 MSRP at the time because I wanted to increase like my performance on Escape from Tarkov, and it was like a really good upgrade, to be fair, compared to my 1080 Ti at the time. But the thing is, like, I didn't need to upgrade my CPU. So I was like, let's keep this way, just invest in the GPU and see like how it feels. And I had like really good experience. Obviously, I could have upgraded maybe at a certain time to the 58X3D. It wouldn't have been like a big expense, but I thought it was still not worth the money. My 5950X was using, it's a funny part, was using still the memory I had on my 8700K. So when I did my upgrade like into CPU, like the money I had to put ready was just the motherboard and the CPU. That's all. I didn't upgrade anything. And this, when you think about it, like this memory I've been using for almost like 7 years now. I had this RAM stick for 7 years. And it was one of the best investments I ever made, because when I bought it, like nobody was really aware about the E-die, B-die, and whatever type of memory. And I was lucky enough to get like the best memory at the time. It was like B-die. And I kept using it from my 8700K to date. Like to date, I'm recording with this memory. We are in 2025. So it's like, like 2017 to 2025, like 8 years, let's say like 7 years. It is just like crazy. So I hope you understand like my approach when it comes like to cautiousness when upgrading my hardware. I do believe like as a content creator, as a gamer, you kind of like need to buy new hardware from time to time to stay relevant, because none of the benchmark or some of the game you are going to be playing on Twitch or everything you do, like you're gonna need like this little boost from time to time. I have to say that the latest like upgrade I had to do was buying the 4090, because first I was not super happy about the 3090 itself in terms of like performance, but also in terms of like quality of life. I would say the 3090 I have had the memory at the top of the PCB, which make it like super warm. And it will like warm up my room like crazy for nothing. Like it was always running super hot. Even if like the die itself was not hot, but there is nothing to actually like make the memory like cooler. So the warm will be like just dissipated in my room, which was a pain. The second like argument to buy a 4090 is the fact that I switched to high refresh rate 1440p screen. And those ones, they start to show like the limit of my 3090. It's still a great card, like let's be clear, but pushing game at 270 FPS with a 3090 was kind of hard with my CPU 5950X. So I kind of like debate. I was like, do I get a new CPU or do I get a new GPU? And at the time, because I found this 4090 at a MSRP, it was just making like more sense for me. So I moved from the 3090 to the 4090 in 2023 or 2022. I don't remember. I think it was early 2023. So I had this card for like 2 years now. The 4090. I have only good thing to say about it. It works very well also on Linux, and it doesn't become really warm at all. Like this thing is really cold. The maximum I was able to push it was maybe like 60 degrees in 1440p. It's really hard like to tap into it. So this is what. And really what I'm trying to explain here is like you can still have a lot of like performance in your game without like getting crazy in terms of like money spending and upgrade. So long story short, if you look at how much money I already spent every 2 years, well, I made a little graph there. I don't think I'm going to show it in the video, but if you look at it, like I did a major upgrade for my PC gaming every 2 years. And each time I really try to check what was the money invested versus the performance. I would say like average, it went from like 1,000 like US dollar to 1,600 US dollar like with the 4090. But you always be like around those brackets. So if you look at it like purely financially, 1,500 every 2 years, it's 750, let's say 800 a year. You divide that by 12, it will be like what? Like $65 a month for having like good hardware and without selling back the previous one, because the way I do, like most of the time, I keep the old hardware and I reuse it. So for example, like my 5950X is gonna go into my streaming rig. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the 8700K, because I'm using right now the 8700K to record this video. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'm gonna sell it. But the idea is like if you sell those parts on top of like buying like the upgrade, it kind of like negates the type of money you put there. Yeah, it was just like me like talking about like the way I upgrade things, because I want you to understand my approach. You know, it would be cool, I guess, to buy a new PC every year, but financially, like it wouldn't make sense to me, because the amount of money I would have to put versus the amount of performance I would get would not just make sense. So now, you know, we are in 2025. There is this new like RTX 5090, which have been released, or is going to be released in like 2 days now. And I've been looking at all the tests. I've been doing also my own research, looking at the upgrade versus what I have right now, like a 4090. And honestly, like financially, it just doesn't make sense to me with the resolution of screen I'm using. I would have to pay like $2,000 to get around like 20% increase average in the game I play in 1440p. I just can't like spend that money and be like happy about my purchase. The other issue is related to the heat that this card is gonna push. Obviously, like I didn't try it. I would love to try it for the channel itself, you know, to show to the Linux community how much FPS we could get like a max on Linux. But like it's just, to me, like right now, it's just too much of a buy. If, you know, NVIDIA, you want to send me a card, or any of the, you know, manufacturer out there, you want to send me a card to actually like bench it and make a review of it, I would be like really thankful, and I would do a solid review of what this card can bring to the Linux community. But for me, you know, owning a 4090, it just doesn't make sense financially. And the other issue I would have if I spend like those 2,000 is I would still stay on my 5950X. And my 5950X was kind of borderline for pushing my 4090. It was kind of like of a bottleneck in certain like game scenario. So I'm thinking if I get a 5090 now, it's gonna be even a more like problem. And I think in terms of benchmark, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, you know, to make benchmark with this platform and push it to everybody else. So I'm like, yeah, like financially, it just doesn't make sense at all. So my expectation, if I get a 5090, I would spend like $2,000 if I'm lucky enough to get it like MSRP. Just to be clear, like I would never buy from scalper, but let's say like I get it MSRP, I would gain like what, like 5% of increase versus like what I have right now. Like it just doesn't make sense at all. So how can I stay relevant when it comes to benchmark, knowing my CPU and my GPU are getting like behind now with those two generations? Well, from my perspective, like buying a CPU would make way more sense, because this is what is really like bottlenecking my whole hardware right now. So I decided to go with a 9800X3D. And I want to talk about why now, and I want to talk like why a 9800X3D. So why now is because since November, there is like no stock in Canada, like at all. There is none. And I will never buy from a scalper, to be clear. So I had to wait it to be finally in stock. And it happened this morning. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the video. But this is the time I'm buying it now because I couldn't before, right? Like it was impossible. The second point is that right now, with what is happening like in the south of the border in the US, with all the tariff that's going to be applied like in the coming days, I think it's going to be in 2 days actually, it's going to be really harder for me to get a CPU at the price which was announced like in November. because I believe, I'm not sure, but it's just me thinking that the US are gonna apply like some type of tariff toward like the import from Canada. I believe like Canada is gonna retaliate, and it's gonna be like this ugly mess where at the end, like the end buyer is gonna have to pay more money for whatever they buy from the US here in Canada. And yes, the CPU, they come from a American company, so I'm believing that we're gonna have some type of tariff on them. And yes, I think this is the right time for me if I want to avoid like paying like whatever like tariff is gonna apply like in the coming months. The other point is like I wanted to wait for the 9950X 3D, but AMD announced that this CPU will be like sold, I think in March or April of this year, which means that we're gonna be running like out of stock right off the bat. I won't be able to put my hand on them, which means like I'm gonna have to wait certainly until like June or July of this year. And it will put me in this weird position where for the next like 6 months from now, well, I will still running like benchmark against over like a channel who has a chance to run a 5090 and a 98X3D, and I felt like I will lose some type of relevance. So I think this gap was just like not possible for me, and I wanted to give you the best in terms of like benchmark for the coming months. And the other point is like something that changed in my usage, because I think I want to talk about it too, is like with CachyOS, which I've been running like for 2 years now, I don't compile that much anymore. I think I just don't compile at all. So I was thinking like maybe it's gonna be hard for me from moving from 16 core to 8 core. But when I look at my workload, like the only issue I really see is related to DaVinci Resolve. But most of the like heavy lifting is done on the GPU anyway. So I'm like, you know, maybe it's worth a try. So I'm gonna see if the 90X X3D is actually like good enough to content creation. I'm planning to do like some review after that. But you know, I just want to share with you like my way of thought. You know, like how do I upgrade? Why not the 5090? And now like why this CPU versus like waiting for the 9950X 3D? My belief is that 6 months from now, it's ready. Like it doesn't work out, I can still sell this beast because it's still like the king of gaming anyways, and try, for example, like the 9950X 3D. So now let's talk about the opportunity, because this is actually pretty funny. The last piece of hardware I bought, which was like pretty significant, was my 4090 RTX. And when I had to buy it, I had to pre-buy it at Best Buy at 2 a.m. in the morning to a store which was like 1 hour away from where I live. And I take this risk knowing that they were a winter advice, like I don't know how they call that here, but like they were a huge like snow tempest, dude. Like we had like some type of like winter notification here in North America, which was like stay in your home. And guess what? This day I took my car and I drove through the snow tempest. Like it was crazy to get my 4090, dude. And this one too, like I'm gonna see it again. Like I got it at MSRP for the scalper out there. But anyways, the point is that I did get it, and today is kind of like the situation I've been in because there is no tempest or anything, but I look at the stock yesterday night, and today like I was like, okay, this is my opportunity. I need to go fast and get it. And guess what? There is like really like two big like chain of store here in Canada. One is called like Canada Computer, and the other one is called Memory Express. And yeah, I found stock in one of them. And the guy, when I arrived at the cashier, he told me literally like, we received like 25 yesterday, and there is only like 8 left. You took the number 8. And he was telling me that the earliest batch he got was in November, and since then he got 0. He literally got 0 CPU since like November, right? So he got his batch, sold in 1 day, second batch, and sold in 1 day again. And the guy behind me, like the guy who entered the store and was talking to the next cashier, was like, do you have some 9800 X3D left? I was like, okay, dude, This is crazy. I went early in the morning and like those things are selling like hotcake. I took this one here, 9800X 3D MSRP. I took a Asus Pro Art motherboard because there is a 10 gigabyte NIC on it, and I really need that for my content creation. And I also got, and this one I'm gonna make maybe like a video like about on everything. And I got a kit of G.Skill memory, 64 gigabyte, two stick, super important, at 6400 megahertz and CAS 32, I think. So I believe this is a pretty good memory. Finger crossed, we'll see how it goes with the overclock and everything. But this has been my choice. Everything was in stock. It was the last piece for the 2 other parts. So I was super happy. Like I didn't have to order, from multiple store. Today, I'm gonna do the build. I'm gonna transfer my 5950X to my streaming rig. I'm gonna put this baby in the PC, and hopefully tomorrow I'm gonna be able to stream. I'm not going to do a video, I think, about the building. I'm not in the right condition here, and this is not my stuff. But I do believe that we're gonna do a video about what it means to upgrade on Linux. What is the overall approach? Like, if I upgrade, for example, what I'm gonna do, just the motherboard, the RAM, and the CPU. Do I need to install Linux? What are the best practice, etc.? I think it's gonna be good content, and we're gonna have a real case scenario there. Like, because tomorrow I'm gonna have to stream and game, and I'm not planning to reinstall everything. I'm just planning to switch the part and see how it goes. So on stream, I think it's gonna be funny, but I think it would be great content for you guys, maybe to learn about this. So yeah, guys, this is pretty exciting. I think it's gonna be really good for the channel itself. We're gonna be able to, get more content out of this like really high-end CPU, memory, motherboard I got, and I'm really curious to see how they're gonna perform on Linux. See if there is any type of like difference versus Windows, Linux. I don't know, like there is so many content that can go out of it for the coming months. And yes, I don't know if you see it on my face, but I'm super excited. This is really, really good news for the channel. Now I want to add like 2 major things. When it comes to the next upgrade, I do think that for the channel, we're gonna need AMD GPU, because I've been doing a lot of testing on my 4090 RTX, but a lot of you guys have been like coming back and be like, hey, we are using AMD, you should try AMD, like, and like without going between like, like the war between like NVIDIA user, AMD user. I'm like, for the channel itself, I think it would be great. So what I'm planning to do is to get my hand on the 9070 XT when it releases. I'm gonna try to get in contact with some of those manufacturers to see if they want to send me one, because I think like it could be great collaboration between my channel and those guys. That's really like the one I'm really thinking next, because overall, like, I'm knocking wood right now. I'm solid in terms of hardware. 5090, if I get my hand on it for free, and just for making review and having like really like a good feedback for the Linux community, I will do it. But I don't feel like it's worth the investment from a personal level. It just, yeah. The other one I'm also like thinking about, and we should maybe like look for sponsor. Like I'm trying to get in contact with AMD, see like, if they have some type of like channel for the content creator like me. I'm really thinking about the 9950X 3D to see how it performs, because now I have the RAM, I have the motherboard, I just need to switch the CPU, and I will be golden to make some benchmarks. So this could be also interesting for the channel. But yeah, that's the good news for today. So hopefully tomorrow everything goes well, and you're gonna see me streaming live on like YouTube with this new hardware. This is really exciting. I have a lot of work to do. Guys, thank you very much again for watching. You're the best. Watching those videos, putting a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel. Like it has been crazy for the last like 6 months. Thanks again. if you supported the channel financially, thanks like twice, 4th time. Like you guys are the really, really best. Because you know, without you, like I wouldn't be able to do those upgrades and get this hardware I got for like the last like 2 months. It has been a little bit crazy. I'm gonna have to come down, by the way, but guys, thank you very much. I couldn't do that without you. Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous.